Greetings everyone, my name is Rosi Moreno Calix, and I am a doctoral candidate at Baylor University. Thank you for joining me today. I'm proud to present my dissertation findings. My dissertation is titled Bridging Environments, a quantitative single case study exploring the role and practices of school counselors in Texas through the lens of the ecological systems theory. My faculty advisor is Dr. Kelly Dixon. Today, I will cover my problem statement, a brief literature review overview, the purpose statement, and research questions. Then I will continue by discussing the theoretical framework that guided my study, my methodology, and the overview of the findings, followed by the implications and recommendations. Finally, I will conclude with the plan for distribution and some special acknowledgments, followed by my references. The professional ideals outlined by the American School Counseling Association often diverge from day-to-day practices. School counselors face multiple layers of influence, the micro, meso, exo, macro, and chrono system that shape their realities. In Texas and nationwide, counselor caseloads, non-counseling duties, and state policy pressures create role confusion and limit counselors' ability to provide a comprehensive school counseling program. Recent legislation, including Texas Senate Bill 179 and Texas Senate Bill 12, alongside current societal issues, have intensified these pressures. The literature review traced the profession's history, showing shifts from the early 20th century origins, initially as vocational counseling and subsequently transitioning to school counseling. Through policy-driven changes, the key themes include the tension between the program ideals established by the national and state models and the daily realities, the influence of legislation and politics on counselor identity and practice, the role of crisis and social change in shaping practice, and the persistent inequities, while resource programs are more common in non-Title I settings. Research highlights the impact of crisis, COVID-19, racial inequities, and immigration policy on counselors' responsibilities and stresses the importance of relationships between school counselors and administrators, teachers, and parents, alongside logistical factors like ratios and non-counseling duties. The purpose of this holistic single case study was to explore K-12 public school counselors' perceptions of the multiple layers of influence, the micro, meso, exo, macro, and chrono system, and how they integrate these practices into their professional practice within a single Texas school district. The research questions that guided this study were the following. First, how do school counselors describe their perceptions of the multiple layers of influence, the micro, meso, exo, macro, and chrono system in their day-to-day practices? The second research question dives into how do school counselors describe their integration of multiple layers of influence, referring to the micro, meso, exo, macro, and chrono system in their day-to-day practices. Urie Bronfenbrenner's 1986 ecological systems theory served as the organizing framework foundation for this study. EST conceptualizes influence in concentric layers, the microsystem, which is the immediate environment, the mesosystem, which consists of the relationships among microsystemic elements, the exosystem, which is indirect influences like district policy, macrosystem, cultural and political forces, and finally the chronosystem, the passage of time and historical change. EST supported both question design and analysis by enabling a narrow to broad examination of how local practice is embedded in larger policy and social contexts. This research design was a qualitative holistic single case study conducted in a Texas public school district. 6 full-time school counselors participated, 2 elementary, 2 middle, and 2 high school counselors. The participation criteria included to hold a professional school counselor certification in Texas, to have at least 3 years as a counselor, and also to work in a full-time school counseling position within the selected school district. The data collection procedures included 6 individual semi-structured interviews and a focus group, all conducted via Zoom. The findings revealed that at the microsystem level, there was no such thing as a typical day for the school counselors. The reason why was because school counselors reported a wide range of varied daily activities, blending counseling and non-counseling duties. This is not counting the unexpected events such as crisis and impromptu meetings. There was no such thing as a typical day because time was highly variable and often driven by immediate campus needs. Under the mesosystem, the major highlight of the findings revealed that the school counselors held very strong partnerships with parents, teachers, administrators, and community partners. This allowed them to be able to implement strong, comprehensive school counseling programs at their campuses. Nonetheless, role confusion persisted among students, families, and staff regarding counselor responsibilities. Some of them indicated that students, parents, and staff members saw them as quasi-administrators, or in other cases, therapists. The findings under the exosystem reveal the key role that district and district leaders have in school counselors' day-to-day practices. District decisions such as budgeting, professional development, and partner facilitation shape school counselors' resources and capacities. Exosystemic structures directly influence what counselors could implement and could offer at campus levels. The findings under the macrosystem shed light on how legislation shapes school counseling practices. Legislation such as Senate Bill 179, which requires time trackers, and Senate Bill 12, which requires parental consent for school counselors to interact with students, had significant implications for confidentiality, duties, and practice. Broader societal issues such as community violence, politics, and substance abuse, also entered the school counseling context and expanded counselors' role from merely academic to a more holistic approach. The findings under the Chronos system revealed that over time, the school counselors perceived that the changes happening to the school counseling profession were overall positive. They also witnessed many changes within themselves with the accumulation of experience. This included increasing comfort with advocacy and growing use of data across time to demonstrate their impact. Experiences supported more effective navigation of evolving legislation and societal issues. It is important to consider how the findings connect with the existing literature. First, the participants' holistic descriptions of school counseling encompassing school-wide small group and interventional interventions align with the ASCA's national model and underscore that school counselors see their role as comprehensive rather than narrowly reactive. School counselors also reported ethical tensions around Senate Bill 12, particularly confidentiality constraints, which mirrors recent scholarship linking legislation to role strain. Third, the data emerged as a central driver of practice. Counselors relied on measurable indicators to justify programs and time use, which converges with the ASCA guidance about data-driven practice. Finally, participants described using state policy as an advocacy tool, a finding that was consistent with Sonati, who showed that strategic policy literacy can strengthen counselor-principal partnerships. Convergences included counselors reporting immigration-related student concerns, echoing Bernal Arevalos' research on undocumented students and viewing administrators as collaborative allies, which supports prior work on principal-counselor collaborations. Divergences are notable too. While some literature found attendance drops after immigration enforcement, counselors in this district did not consistently report attendance impacts. Likewise, although prior studies documented administrator undervaluing of counseling time, participants here largely felt respected. Yet role confusion persisted when counselors were assigned non-counseling duties. These alignments and tensions suggest that context, district policy, community conditions, and recent legislation shape whether national trends appear locally. The findings of this study generated actionable implications and recommendations for three audiences: district leaders, campus administrators, and school counselors. For district leaders, there were three important implications. First, the findings revealed that there was an uneven resource distribution. Not all of the school counselors believed they have access to resources for curriculum development. In fact, some of the school counselors talked about a recently adopted software, and while some said that they were using it, some deemed it inadaptable for their students' needs. Second, there was an existence of role confusion, many times associated to the duties that the school counselors were assigned. Some of the school counselors revealed feeling like quasi-administrators or being confused as therapists. Finally, the outside school concerns are an inevitable part of the day-to-day for the school counselors. This yielded 3 important recommendations. First, allocate funds for grade-appropriate guidance curriculum, especially for elementary. Second, expand counselors' specific professional development on current ethics, legislation, and events, and provide administrator training on counselor roles so policy and duty alignments align with program goals. Now, for campus administrators, there were 2 important implications and 2 recommendations to enhance school counseling practices. First, all of the school counselors reported having strong partnerships with their administrative teams. However, they did highlight perceiving role confusion when it came to duties assigned, and how school administrators had the power to change the perception through the duties that they assigned school counselors. Also, support is needed to comply with legislation and guidelines, specifically Texas Bill 179, which requires school counselors to spend no more than 20% of their time in non-counseling duties. As far as recommendations, I recommend increasing education and awareness of school counseling profession, as well as increasing education and awareness for the legislation that impacts and shapes school counseling practices. For the school counselors, the data yielded 2 very important implications and 3 highly important recommendations. First, as far as implications goes, there is a very high importance of data-driven practices. Data drives decision-making and program implementation and delivery. Now, school counselors also need to understand their role within the learning ecosystem. School counseling is not an isolated profession. It is an interrelated profession that depends on many other parts to be able to enhance ineffective practices. For recommendations, I recommend increasing understanding of the role within the learning ecosystem. Also, continuation of data-driven practices. Finally, increasing self-advocacy to enhance professional day-to-day practices. To maximize uptake, I propose tailored dissemination to each audience. For district leaders, a concise research brief and a presentation at a leadership meeting prior to the upcoming school year. For campus administrators, a 30-minute live session at a leadership meeting with actionable duty assignment guidance and quick tools for supporting counselors. For the school counselors, district presentations and submissions to professional journals such as the Professional School Counselor Journal and the Journal of School Counseling, paired with district-level workshops to enhance professional day-to-day practices. As I conclude this presentation, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge 4 key individuals in this dissertation writing process. First, I would like to thank my amazing faculty advisor, Dr. Kelly Dixon. Thank you for your patience, your guidance, and your support. And also to my defense committee, Dr. Amy Sloan, Dr. Nicole Duplessis, and Dr. Lacey Papadakis. Thank you for investing your time in my work. Thank you for making all of this possible and making my dissertation something I feel truly proud of. I would have not accomplished any of this without you, and I am very appreciative of the 4 of you. Here are my references, and this concludes my dissertation presentation. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.